How's it going? I'm Jared Gillis. Welcome to another All About RVs. Today we're going to be talking about how to install an AC on your RV with a few tips along the way to make it just a little bit more efficient. So we're going to be looking at installing the Furrion Chill. It's the 15,500 BTU unit. Usually the units that you put on RVs are around 13,000 or 15,000, or the larger ones at 18,000. So this is in that 15,000 BTU range with just a little bit higher than normal. So the 15,500. We picked out this unit because we needed to replace ours. Ours was getting quite old, and I really liked some of the features that were built into this. I loved the design of it, and I really wanted to try it out. So let's go through the handful of steps. We got about 5 steps to replacing the AC on your RV. So the first thing we have on our list is preparation. We want to prepare the area for the new AC. And in our situation, we're replacing our older AC, so we need to be able to get that off the roof. You can see that this one has had a really long life on the RV. It has worked well for a very long time, but rather than chasing problems around in this unit, we thought it'd be best just to be able to replace it so it doesn't break down in the middle of the summer after we just do a few minor repairs on it. So replacing it, so we need to get the old one off. So first thing we're gonna do is turn off the power. We wanna kill the AC power to it, and we also wanna get rid of the 12 volt power coming to this unit. We don't wanna short anything out, and we might as well just turn everything off so we don't have to worry about it while we are working on it. At that point, we can disconnect the wires from the AC unit. You might be installing this in a prepped area for an AC, so you might be pulling out a fan, but this is where we want to disconnect those wires. And if you're afraid you might lose some information by disconnecting all these wires, you can always take a quick picture of how everything is hooked up, so that way you can know how it was done originally. Sometimes having that information later on down the road can be valuable. So we want to disconnect those wires, and there's really not a whole lot holding the AC unit to the RV. It's actually a pretty simple system. As I remove the old AC, you can see that it's just held in by 4 bolts that basically take this bracket on the inside and sandwich it with the AC on the roof. And there's a seal in between, and that's really how it's held on to the RV. So when we remove those, we can just remove the AC. At this point, I can move the AC out of the way. I just need to go up on the roof, but I'm gonna take my time and cover up and clean up a lot of the stuff on the sides. I don't want any of these holes that are open. It's not gonna help the AC to be efficient. So I'm gonna clean up a lot of the stuff that's messy around here and make it look good and make it so it's gonna be more efficient. So take your time to do it right. Now, I want to give you a little tip as we do this install, something that you can make your AC more efficient as you're installing it, or if you want to make your older AC that's already on your RV more efficient. If you pay a little bit of attention to how that air is going to flow, and that theme is going to go all through this install, but if you have wires and a lot of things that are just in the way restricting that return air, or the cool air coming back into your RV, you just want to pay attention to that and streamline that as much as possible. So during this part of the installation, I'm going to make sure that those edges and everything is sealed up really well. Any of those penetrations where the wires are coming in, I want to seal those up so air's not trying to get pushed through those holes, or I just want to be able to route those wires on the side so that everything can be as streamlined as possible. It'll make it quieter and more efficient. So that's just a little tip as we continue through this process. Along with all this prep, we want to clean the roof so we have a nice clean surface for our next upcoming steps. There was one thing that I kind of forgot to film. I didn't really think about it being part of the process, but getting the AC up on the roof and getting the old one down. So the tip that I would give for you in this is to tie a rope around it, try and make it as secure as possible. Don't try and do it on your own. If you have a lift or you have a mechanical way of being able to safely get it up there, I highly recommend that. You can always use a ladder, somebody up on top of the roof pulling the rope. You could have somebody down below guiding it and kind of assisting getting it up there. Just don't drag it and scrape it across your RV. But we left it in the box, tied the rope to it, and heaved it on up there. And then we brought the old one down the same way. We ended up putting the old one into that box, and then we brought it down. It just gave us a little bit more ability to grab onto it and to hold it and to tie a rope around it without creating any more damage. And the box kind of gave a little bit of protection if it was to go against the RV. So those are my tips for getting the AC up there and down. Just be careful and try and do it with somebody else to help you through that process. So that now brings us to step number 2, which is to secure and seal the AC unit to the RV. Now, this is pretty simple. We're going to move it over the hole. The AC unit isn't something that you want to drag across the roof. Number 1, you don't want to damage the roof. And number 2, you don't want to damage the seal underneath the AC unit. There's actually a seal underneath there that gets compressed, and that's what gives you a watertight seal for your RV so that it doesn't leak. You don't want it leaking when the rain comes, and you don't want to damage that seal. So place it over the hole the best that you can, get it lined up from the top, and then you can drop down from inside and you can kind of give it those micro adjustments to get it trued up on that hole just the best possible way. You want to get it squared up on there so it just fits nice with the opening in your RV. So this AC is going to attach the same way that our old one did with the 4 bolts, but before we put that frame up there, we do want to put our duct divider in there so that it's going to separate between our return air and the cold air coming out. So it's going to begin that process, but we just want to pop that into place, make sure that it's secure, no air gaps, and then we can put the frame in place, put the bolts through it, and tighten it down. In the instructions, they said to go between 40 and 50 foot-pounds of torque to be able to tighten that thing down all the way, or you can look on the inside and see that seal that's getting compressed. It's going to get compressed really close to around a 1/2 inch, so 9/16 of an inch, so just over a 1/2 inch. You'll see that seal, and you'll want it to be equal all around. You don't want it cranked down in the front or the side or the back. You'll just want a nice even seal all around the AC. Now, that brings us to the 3rd step that I like to call optimizing the airflow. Now, if we pay attention to this, it can really help the AC operate very well for the size of our RV. If we don't pay attention to it, your AC could freeze up, be very inefficient, not get down to temperature, and not be comfortable inside your RV. So paying attention to this step can really make or break how that AC feels on your RV. The thought behind this is we want to pay attention to how that airflow is happening. So what happens in an AC is you have that return air, the large portion of the AC unit where the air is going to be coming in, and then it gets cooled, and then it gets dispersed throughout the RV. If those two airs are mixing where they shouldn't inside that ductwork, it's not going to be efficient. You're going to run into those freeze up situations. So we want to really pay attention to how we separate that for how the air is being fed into the unit and how it is coming out. Keep those absolutely separate and insulated. So we're going to finish our duct divider, and they give you a little bit of insulation to be able to put on that, but we want to fit that right into place and look for any air gaps. So we can put on that little bit of insulation, make sure that all those air gaps are covered. You can use that foil tape if you need to cover up any of those holes. Ended up actually getting a little bit more insulation, a little thicker insulation, and just strengthening that area in between the two and just making sure that there was zero chance that the air was going to mix in that area. Taking the time to do this goes a long way. So really we started this step optimizing the airflow in the preparation area because we really wanted to make sure that we smoothed out any of those places where the air was going to go into that ductwork. We didn't want any open holes. We wanted to smooth everything out, and we really could make it more efficient if we just had it go directly to those ducts on the side and just make that as smooth as possible. But with this AC, we have the option to be able to open up those vents on this unit and be able to kind of dump that air into the RV to try and cool it down quickly. So we didn't want to eliminate that feature in this, but you could have it go directly and as smooth as you can into the ductwork. But I was satisfied with kind of streamlining things and making sure the air intake and the air coming out is not going to be mixing. So that brings us to step number 4, where we connect the power and the thermostat to the unit. This unit actually has a removable control box where we can make all of our connections. So we can loosen up the couple of screws to be able to put our Romex wire in here and then tighten those down so that we have some strain relief so it's not going to get pulled out of this box. But we want to make our 120 volt AC connections here. So we have the black wire to the black wire, the white wire to the white wire, and the ground to the ground. We want to twist our wires, and then we also want to crimp them. And then we can tuck them back into their box and they have a cover plate that you can just tighten up right over it, so it just everything tucks in there nicely. Now on the thermostat side, this one came with a thermostat, and it's extremely easy to connect. It basically only has 4 wires for this thermostat. So you have your positive and negative for your power to be able to power the thermostat, and then you just have an A and a B. So it's different than your typical thermostat where you're going to have multiple wires. So we can make those connections with that thermostat wire up in the AC unit in that control box, and then connect those same 4 wires down to the thermostat below. We can connect the positive, the negative, and our A and the B in that unit, and then it just clicks in place on the wall. Now they make it available so that you can control the furnace through this thermostat. So we do have 2 wires that go down to our furnace. In our case, it's a red and a white wire, and out of this AC unit, we have 2 brown wires. So there's really no polarity issue going on here. We just need to connect these 2 brown wires, one to the white wire and one to the red wire. So that is going to be what allows us to be able to turn on the furnace through this thermostat. Then we can connect the 12-volt power source to the AC unit. So really at this point, all we have to connect is the upper AC unit to our control box. So it just plugs right into there, and then we have our freeze sensor that we're just gonna put right on those fins that's gonna detect if this thing is starting to freeze up. And that really brings us to step number 5, which is to finish the installation. So at this point, I just want to make sure that all the wires are tucked out of the way. Again, optimizing the airflow, not causing any kind of restriction that's going to cause more sound of the air rushing around the wires. So I just want to be efficient as I can there. Now we can put our air distribution box, basically the cover that goes on the bottom. This is where I added actually just a little bit of weather stripping around where that cold air is going to be coming down. There was just a little bit of a gap. So putting a little bit of weather strip around there just allowed it to really give it a nice solid seal. So that way when the air comes down, it's going to go right into that ductwork rather than just kind of getting a lot of turbulence and getting tossed around in there. So that really helped a lot. So we put that air distribution box up, we screwed into place, and then it just has a couple of small filters that just pop into place, and then a cover that goes over that. So I think it's a great looking unit, and it works really well. So you can see that it's really not that difficult to install an AC unit on your RV, just a handful of steps, and you got the job done. So I just wanted to pause for a minute because I would love to do a review of this AC unit, but there's a lot to unpack in it. There's a lot of great features. There's a few things I think they can improve on, but we'll save that for the next video. But if you're wanting kind of the idea and the cliff notes behind it, we're very happy with this purchase. I would absolutely do this one again. It's a great unit. So let's get back to it. So I'll be sure to put a link down in the description to this AC unit and anything else that we use in this video. That way you can check out the current pricing. So I think that's gonna do it for today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you wanna see more videos about RVing, hit that subscribe button. And if we don't see you on the road, hopefully we will see you next video.